Up guys, today we're going to be talking about two of the most controversial training collars out there. We're going to be discussing about the prong collar and the e-collar, or the electronic collar. This collar has been around for a very long time, and it has had many conflicting reviews in regards to this collar. Some people call it very barbaric, it's scary, it's like a torture device. Whereas other people look at it as a godsend. It's like power steering. I'm going to give you again a little bit of the concept behind the prong collar. The prong collar, they got the design from the mother dog. Whenever she picks up or she reprimands her pups, her young, she usually uses her mouth, which are filled with teeth. And the collar is similar. It's a collar and it has teeth. Now the teeth, or the prongs, they're not sharp, contrary to what many people think. They're actually very blunt. And what I will do from time to time is, when somebody is interested in the prong, I'll have them put it on their arm just like that, and I'm going to have them do this. And when they feel it, they're like, wait a minute, it's not what I thought. I thought it was going to be a little bit sharper. I thought it was going to pinch. Even though it is also known as a pinch collar, it doesn't really pinch or perforate. The prongs themselves are very dull, but what it is, it's the shock and awe. And when I say shock and awe, your leash is usually hooked up to this flat swivel ring right here. And then you have another ring right there in the center. And so when it's around the dog's neck, it'll form like a triangle right there with the chain, as you see. When it's on the dog, it would be sitting like this, where your leash is attached to the swivel ring, which is at the back of the dog's neck. And the reason being is because most dogs tend to go forward and pull. When that happens now, this type of behavior or reaction from the collar, which would cause the dog to back off. Now, before we go any further, in order to put the collar on the dog, we would never slip the collar over the dog's head. The reason being is, A, if you can slip it over the dog's head, it's going to be too big. So it's going to sit at the base of the neck as opposed to the top of the neck. And what it is at the base of the neck for a dog, a human, you'll find there's a lot more muscle tissue, which allows that animal to endure the correction. So really and truly, I've seen some dogs with a prong on it sitting down there and they're still pulling into it, so it doesn't bother them. So what we do is we adjust the prong so that it sits higher up on the neck, because here on the neck, as opposed to here, is a lot more sensitive. So you'll find that you'll get a much quicker response from the dog when it's in the right position. So to adjust the collar or to make it smaller or bigger, what we do is, and again, we can take it apart from any link. So let's say from here, we're going to push up like that and expose the elbows. Then we're going to squeeze and take it apart. And then what we can do is the same thing again, push up, expose the elbows, squeeze, take it apart, boom, we're good to go. Just like that. And when we put it on the dog, to know if we have it on correctly, you should just barely be able to turn it. Now, if you can't turn it at all, obviously it's way too tight, so you may want to add a link to it. So what it is you want to barely be able to turn it. Now, if you can turn it too much, then it's too loose, so it's ineffective. Anyhow, getting back to the use of the prong collar. We call it power steering because there's no fighting when the prong is on. Unlike sometimes a martingale collar, a slip lead, you'll find sometimes the dogs will still muscle through the collar. The slip, or sorry, not the slip lead, the slip chain, or the toggle collar, or the commonly known as the choke chain. You'll find with those pieces of equipment, they do work, but some dogs will still pull to the point where they're like choking themselves out. And that's because the chain gets tighter and tighter. However, with the prong collar, it doesn't get tighter and tighter. Once that collar gets engaged, that's it, it stops right there. But usually at that point in time, the dog will back off with any type of pulling. And why that is because now it's feeling the grab of the teeth and it's distributed evenly around the entire neck. This is why we find with this collar, it works like almost instantly. Now, provided you have it in the right spot. The collar should never be left on the dog when left alone. So if you have your dog in the crate, you want to take it off. We've had situations where clients have left it on while the dog was in the crate and the teeth would get hooked up on the bar, and you know what happens from there. So ideally, we use it only when we're going for walks or high excitement times. So people coming over to the home, your dog tends to be a little bit more rambunctious. Before they arrive, have your training collar on, your prong collar on, with, let's say, a leash that's dragging or a pull tab. So this way it gives you a means of correcting your dog for inappropriate behavior or just for reinforcing your obedience commands. This collar, like I said, makes your life so much easier. If you have a really large dog, and let's say you're a very petite person or somebody that may have an injury, having this on the dog makes a world of difference. There's no struggle. The dog literally teaches itself. Like when I'm putting it on the dog for the first time, I allow the dog to actually go out and feel the sensation of the collar without me having to give any type of correction. And usually what happens is, because it's brand new to the dog, they react. Oh, they get startled. Sometimes they may try to test or challenge it again by moving forward, and we just wait and see. Now, if I have to, I might give just a light tug on the collar and see the type of reaction we get. And 9 times out of 10, boom, that's it. We don't have to say a word. We don't have to do anything at all. The dog literally learns on its own. That's the prong collar for you. It was a type of collar that was kept under wraps. I know in some pet stores, it wasn't even on the shelf. They had to actually pull it out from under the counter if you were interested in getting the collar. It is by far one of the safest collars out there, contrary to what many people say. And why I say that is because A, they're not sharp, they're dull. And B, it doesn't choke the dog out. It stops at a certain level. And C, again, the dog learns on its own. Great collar. I still use it with my own dogs. I use it more so when I'm doing my competitive obedience, my Schutzen style training. It's great for refining a lot of the exercises that we do in Schutzen. Next door to the ECollar. And I just brought out the receiver. I didn't bring out the transmitter with me today. I can't find it. However, we're going to go through the ECollar and how it works. Now with the ECollar, simply put, it's an electronic collar. Yes, an electronic collar. So there's going to be some current running through this collar. This is called the receiver. The receiver, what it does, it sits on your dog's neck. Now I'm going to show you ideally where we place it on the dog. So on the dog, it would be sitting right here, just below the muzzle and kind of slightly off to the side. And you want to make sure those probes are making contact. And the reason being is because if it's not, if it's fairly loose, they're not going to make contact, and you're going to find the dog is not going to feel any type of sensation. Now, with that said, in the way of sensation or modes, the ECollar, some of them have 3 modes. You have tone, where it emits a beep or a buzzer. You have vibration mode, where now if you hit that button, the dog just receives, some vibration. And then you have the actual stimulation mode, where you hit that button, the dog receives a shock, putting it bluntly. Now with the stimulation mode, most ECollars, they come with a momentary button and a continuous button. The momentary button, when you hit that, it just gives 1 shot. With the continuous, it gives several shots until you take your finger off the button. And dependent on how you use it, can be a wonderful tool. It's like anything else, whether it's a prong or ECollar, slip chain, it comes back to the handler. The collar itself is not enough. There has to be a certain amount of skill level involved to get the most from the collar. Now, with the ECollar, the beauty of it is the corrections, they become impersonal because the dog is not seeing any type of physical act from you. Literally, you have your hand on the transmitter, which I don't have today, and you could actually have that off to the side so that the dog doesn't see. You give your command, the dog doesn't get behavior, we repeat the command and reinforce with the touch of a button. So we call it, again, automatic training. The ECollar is great for, let's say, distance work. So if you're working with the dog, whether it be 6 feet away or 60 feet away, you have the ability to reinforce behavior. It's like a really long, invisible leash. That's how you can view the ECollar. And there are several different settings dependent on the actual model or make. You may have some collars come with, let's say, 10 settings. Some I've seen 5, some I've seen 100. Like the Dogtra, I believe the Dogtra is 100 or 100 plus. Then you have the E-Educator. This is the Garmin. Garmin used to be Tritronics many years ago. When I started Schutzen in the 90s, we had Tritronics. And the transmitter wasn't like the transmitters like today, which are this big. They were literally big like that, like the old cell phones. And the receivers were actually really big too. And with the receiver, you would have to change, or the level of correction, you would have to change it on the receiver itself. Whereas today, on the transmitter, you can adjust the level that you want for your dog. Now, it can be used, again, in the way of negative reinforcing for teaching new behaviors. So like I said, when we're teaching a sit, for example, we could actually have the dog standing beside us. We say sit, we hold the button down, the continuous button, at a low setting, and we can guide the dog with the leash at the same time. Sit. As it sits, I take my finger off the button and then reward the dog immediately. So with the E-Collar, we can use it when we're doing, again, our negative reinforcement training. And let's say we're teaching the simple sit. First of all, we're still gonna have the leash on the dog plus the E-Collar. Why? Because the leash is gonna help guide the dog into position. So we have our transmitter in one hand, we've got our leash with the dog in the other hand. Let's say we tell the dog now sit. Now again, we're gonna say for a dog that knows the sit, and we're now introducing the correction. And the correction is coming from the E-Collar. We would say sit, and as we say sit, we would hit the continuous button. Now it would be at a very low level, so as not to freak the dog out or stress the dog out, but just to kind of annoy the dog. And as we're holding the button down, we're gonna guide the dog into the sit. Once the dog sits, we release the button immediately and then praise and or reward. And what will happen is eventually we can eliminate the actual physical guidance and just use the stimulation to teach the dog what sit means and what the correction means. That is, again, a guiding correction. Later on, we can use what we call an active correction, where now the dog thoroughly understands sit and it's sitting proficiently. Now one day you say sit, it doesn't sit, we can hit the continuous button, or sorry, the momentary button, but at a higher setting, and the dog receives a little jolt, at which time now it will sit. So that one now, at that level, it is for accountability. In the beginning, we're now teaching, it's learning. So that's the beauty of the E-Collar. And like I said, it helps to keep the training impersonal. There's no real attachment between you and the dog and physical corrections. They're fairly lightweight now, so it's not a big cumbersome thing on your dog. And many of them are also waterproof, so they can go into the water. You don't have to worry about them getting electrocuted. Now, with that said, some models, you see the probes here, these are fairly short. You can get some models where you could actually screw off the probes and exchange them with longer probes. So if you have a long-haired dog, that would be ideal, because sometimes with dogs that have a lot of fur, the short ones may not make contact or not properly. So sometimes it may receive a stim, sometimes it doesn't, or sometimes not at all. So you may want to opt out and get the longer probes, so that way you're making contact. So what it really comes down to is preference. And with both training collars, usually when we introduce them, the dogs are usually a minimum of 6 months, minimum, before we introduce any type of training collar. Because we find at that age, they're a little bit more mentally mature to handle a little bit more in the way of stimulation or stress. And even then, you're exercising a lot of discretion when you're working with them. With these collars, like I said before, both of them, when not in use, make sure that they're off the dogs, so this way we don't run into any potential problems. These collars, like I said before, it's a personal preference. Some people, they feel a little bit more comfortable with the prong collar. Other people, they like the notion of not actually having to give a correction. I remember I was speaking with a guy, another trainer, and I was telling him when I started training, and this is going way back in the mid-90s, we used the prong collar or the slip chains, and we give a little pop on the leash. And his comment was, "Oh, you guys did the yank and crank." And I laughed and jokingly said, "Yeah, today now we just fried them." But I meant as a joke. And he was like, "Whoa." I said, "Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, neither one of these things the dog really loves. If you were to ask the dog, which one do you prefer? It'd be amazing to see the type of, let's say, answer they would give you. They are a negative, but they are used to help maintain a learned behavior. That is the purpose of a correction. So dependent on your flavor would dictate which collar you use. And like I said before, it really comes down to handler skill. The collars themselves are not bad. Now, myself, I like to start out all my clients on some type of manual collar first. The reason being is you get a better appreciation, in my own opinion, you get a better appreciation of what a correction is all about. Because now there's an actual physical connection between you and the dog. You're delivering the correction, the dog is feeling it, you're feeling the response. So it allows you now to feel sometimes what the dog is feeling. Whereas with this one, it's just a touch of a button. And if used incorrectly, sometimes we may go too high, too soon. And this can cause, with the ECollar, superstitious behavior. So we have to be careful if we decide to go with this type of collar. That's why I like to start with a manual collar first. And once the handler gets pretty proficient with using a manual collar, then later on, if they want, we can introduce an ECollar. And at that point in time, whether it's, let's say, competitive obedience, you want to really refine some of the exercises, we can work with it. Or let's say they're getting into advanced obedience for the basic obedience handler. The beauty of it with this, it's like a long invisible leash. And like I said, because you've worked with the manual first, you have a better appreciation of corrections. And that's my take on the two collars. So in a nutshell, neither one of these collars are bad. It just comes down to a personal preference and using discretion when working with them. I hope this video was great and very informative. If so, please give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and you might want to check out my new book, Instincts to Excellence. It outlays everything in regards to dog training techniques, theories, ideology, and basic communication between you and your dog. With that, guys, take care.